Okay, so this past weekend, wow. The entire geopolitical map of the Western Hemisphere was, well, pretty much redrawn. We saw a dramatic, incredibly high-stakes military operation that has left the world scrambling for answers. And right now, we're going to break down exactly what went down.
I mean, think about this for a second. In less than 48 hours, the United States launched a military strike, went into a foreign capital, and captured its sitting head of state. So we're going to walk you through exactly how Operation Absolute Resolve happened, why it happened, and what kind of explosive fallout we're already seeing across the globe.
So where did this all begin? Well, it all kicked off in the dead of night. Let's start with Section 1, the lightning-fast military raid on Caracas.
You have to understand, this whole operation was built on two things: speed and surprise. It's just after 2 a.m. local time when airstrikes suddenly start rocking the city. And under the cover of all that chaos and darkness, elite special forces make their move. And get this, before the sun even had a chance to rise over Caracas, the whole thing was over. Mission accomplished. They were gone. And the plan itself? It was executed with absolute surgical precision. Okay, so step 1, they had to take out the eyes and ears. That meant neutralizing Venezuelan air defenses at key military bases like La Carlota and Fort Tuna. Then, step 2, the capture itself. An elite team storms the presidential residence and grabs Nicolás Maduro and his wife. And finally, step 3, get out fast. They were immediately whisked away by helicopter, giving absolutely no one any time to react.
But you know, an operation this precise, it still comes at a cost, a human cost. The U.S. hasn't released any official figures, but sources inside Venezuela are reporting that more than 80 people were killed during the assault. And this is a really key detail. That number includes 32 members of the Cuban military and intelligence, who are basically acting as Maduro's personal security force.
So, okay, what we've just described sounds like a full-blown military raid, right? But the official story, the justification coming from the United States, well, it tells a very, very different story. Which brings us to our next section, a warrant, not a war. The entire legal justification for this whole thing, it rests on one single word: narco-terrorism. The argument from the Trump administration is that this wasn't an invasion. Nope, they're calling it a law enforcement action, basically to serve a federal warrant. And the charge on that warrant? Conspiracy to flood the United States with cocaine. And right there, you have this huge clash in perception. On one side, the U.S. is framing this as essentially a police action, just on an international scale. But for, well, most of the rest of the world, and definitely for Venezuela, what they saw was an undeniable act of war, a total violation of their sovereignty. And then, by Monday morning, we're talking just 2 days after the raid, you get this unbelievable scene. There's Nicolás Maduro, not in his lavish presidential palace in Caracas, but standing in a New York federal courtroom. And he's defiantly pleading not guilty, telling the court, "I am the rightful president of Venezuela." I mean, that one moment just perfectly captures how completely unprecedented this all is. So, as you can probably guess, the reaction to this was immediate. It was global, and it paints a picture of a world that is now seriously divided over what just happened. And really, you just have to look at the reactions to get the full picture. The United Nations, they're expressing deep alarm, warning that this sets a, quote, dangerous precedent. Back here at home, the U.S. Congress is split right down party lines, completely divided. Meanwhile, Venezuela itself has declared a state of emergency, and all its neighbors in Latin America, they are absolutely terrified this means we're heading back to an old era of aggressive U.S. intervention. And you know what? That fear of intervention, it's not coming out of nowhere. A lot of analysts are looking at this and saying this isn't just a one-time thing. They believe we are witnessing the birth of a brand new American foreign policy. Which brings us to Section 4, the Monroe Doctrine. So what on earth is the Monroe Doctrine? Well, it's a clever play on the old Monroe Doctrine, right? But this is an updated, much more aggressive version for the 21st century. What it signals is a new willingness from the Trump administration to use direct, physical, military force to shape events and protect American interests right here in its own backyard, the Western Hemisphere. And we can't overstate what a massive shift this is. For years, the U.S. approach to Venezuela was all about sanctions and diplomatic pressure, trying to squeeze them from the outside. This new doctrine, it just throws all that out the window in favor of direct action. It's a completely different philosophy, moving away from the long, slow game of economic pressure and towards quick, decisive military strikes. The closest thing we've ever seen to this is probably the 1989 invasion of Panama to get Manuel Noriega, but that was a very different time, and this is happening in a much more complicated world.
And look, beyond the official charge of narcoterrorism, you really have to look at the bigger strategic picture here. There are three huge factors at play. First, and this is a big one, Venezuela is sitting on massive oil reserves. Second, taking Maduro out of the picture is a direct shot at China's growing economic power in the region. And third, it's a way to push back against Russia's military and political ties with Caracas. So yeah, this is about way more than just drugs. This is pure geopolitics.
And all of that leads us right into our final section. Because while the operation itself might have been a short-term tactical success, the long-term consequences? Well, nobody knows for sure. This is an incredibly high-stakes gamble.
To put it really simply, getting Maduro out of the country, that might have been the easy part. The hard part is what comes next, and it's looking incredibly difficult and totally unpredictable. This quick military win has basically created a massive power vacuum, and the whole situation is just deeply volatile.
And right now, there are two huge risks hanging over everything. First, there's the internal risk. Who is the Venezuelan military going to support now? We just don't know. Are they going to back the new interim government, or could the country just spiral into a full-blown civil war? Then there's the global risk. The US may have just opened a Pandora's box here. Because if one superpower can use its military to serve a domestic arrest warrant in another country, what's to stop other nations from trying the exact same thing?
And that really is the ultimate question we're all left with. Was Operation Absolute Resolve a brilliant masterstroke, a move that will secure American interests for decades? Or is it just the first disastrous step into a brand new South American quagmire? For now, only time will tell.